Hey, Chef Ro here. Today we're going to learn how to torch a creme brulee. Creme brulee technically translates to burned cream. Now we don't want to burn the sugar, but we do need to burn it. Okay? I know, very fine line, right? So, first things first, you need to choose your sugar. And everybody has very strong opinions about which sugar you should use, including me, not gonna lie. Okay? Some people are very firmly in the granulated sugar camp. The problem with granulated sugar is that it doesn't turn a really dark brown, and you're going to have to do multiple layers of very, very thin sugar, usually in the 5 to 6 range, if you want to get that perfect crust. So, some people use brown sugar. Well, the problem with brown sugar is that it's very, very moist. It has the molasses from the granulated sugar process added back in, and so now it's really wet, and wet sugar just doesn't like to burn as much. Basically what you're doing is you're taking the sugar from raw to hard crack stage instantaneously. That's why you need a torch with a blue light, right? The flame has to be blue or else it's not hot enough. Okay, so brown sugar, a little too wet. White sugar, not enough color. So some people mix the two. I've seen people dry out their brown sugar in the oven for hours. That just seems like a pain to me. In my opinion, use turbinado sugar. You might know it as sugar in the raw, something along those lines. You want the big crystals. You'll get the color like brown sugar, you'll get the crack like a granulated sugar, and usually because of the large crystals, you only have to do about 1 to 2 layers. With that, Demerara sugar is also excellent in this, but turbinado is a little less pricey. Okay, you usually only have to do 1 to 2 layers with those types of sugars, with the large crystals, and you get that perfect crunch every time, and the nice brown color. I'm going to show you how we're going to torch it. So I have our creme brulee here, and I just pulled it out of the fridge because you want it to be cold. And I've got our turbinado sugar. You can see it's a large crystal sugar, okay, very large crystals, which is going to help us. Now you want to sprinkle this around, and you want to make sure that you get an extremely thin layer, because what's going to happen is that it's going to take this sugar and turn it to hard crack stage almost instantaneously, and if it's too thick, you're going to be left with a layer of sugar underneath. And you want to make sure the entire thing is covered, okay? Because if it's not covered, you're going to have spots where you're just burning cream, not sugar. Now, you're going to take the torch, and you're going to make sure that the flame, you're not in here all the way. You want the flame, the tip of the flame to touch it, and you want to be moving it constantly. Okay? If you stay in one spot too long, you're going to burn it. Now, so move, move, move. That is the thing to remember. Okay? You want to keep moving. Now, you see, I've got the tip of the flame touching it. I'm not out too far, and I'm not right in there. And you can see as soon as the sugar melts, I'm going to stop immediately. If I keep going, I'll either burn the sugar, and that's not what we want to do. So you may want to add a second layer. If you're like me, you like a really nice hard crack when you get that creme brulee. So I'm going to add another layer of sugar. Okay, same thing, very thin, very single layer covering the whole thing. I'm going to do the same thing with the torch, constant moving, constant, and notice I'm in there, but I'm not too close. Okay, you've got to let the flame touch the sugar. And now I have this beautiful creme brulee, but you want to pick it up by the bottom, okay, the very top, just hit that torch. So if you pick it up that way, you're going to burn your hands. You've got to pick it up by the bottom so that you do not burn your hands. Okay? Now you're going to want to let that sugar cool for just a minute, and then you can test it with your spoon. If you try and test it too early, it's just going to be still molten. It'll get on your hands. It'll hurt. Don't do it. Okay, so you let the sugar cool and then you test it by giving it a crack. And you can see how beautifully burned this sugar is on top. It formed a whole layer of crunch. The one thing that is going to make real difference in whether or not your sugar properly torches, as I showed you, is that the creme brulee must be cold. If it's not cold, the sugar is going to kind of start melting into it, and then you won't really get that crisp crust. That's why the beauty of creme brulee, especially for an event, is that you make it the day before because it works better that way. Do not burn it though until at most 30 minutes before you're going to serve it. If you burn it any earlier than that, the sugar is going to start reacting with the moisture in the creme brulee and it's going to turn back to a syrup. And it'll be kind of like an upside down flan, which is delicious, but not exactly the texture we're going for here. Okay? So, now you know how to burn that perfect creme brulee. I hope you enjoy the sound that spoon makes as it goes right through.